The night of September 7, 1996, started as an electrifying evening in Las Vegas. Tupac Shakur, one of hip-hop's most influential voices, had just finished performing at the MGM Grand. But little did anyone know, the next few days would shake the music world forever. At 11:15 p.m., Tupac, accompanied by his close friend and Death Row Records CEO, Marion Suge Knight, was driving to a club. The atmosphere was tense. Rumors had been swirling for months about rivalries between the East Coast and West Coast rap scenes, tensions that threatened to boil over. Suge Knight's presence was more than just a protective companion that night. It was a statement of power and loyalty. Tupac, bruised by recent altercations but unbowed, was riding with the man who stood at the center of West Coast hip-hop's empire. As the black BMW rolled slowly through the Vegas streets, a white Cadillac pulled up alongside, unleashing a barrage of bullets. Tupac was hit multiple times. Knight suffered serious injuries but survived. This tragic shooting became the most notorious unsolved case in music history. Over 2 decades later, the mystery of who orchestrated Tupac's murder has remained clouded with rumors, conspiracy theories, and half-truths. Until now. Recently, in a court proceeding related to unrelated legal matters, Suge Knight stunned observers with a statement that could reopen wounds in the hip-hop community. In a bold and unexpected turn, Knight publicly alleged the involvement of Sean Diddy Combs in the murder plot against Tupac. This was no casual claim. Knight, whose life and reputation have been marked by controversy, laid bare a connection that fans and experts had only speculated about for years. The exact details of Knight's testimony have not been fully disclosed, but the implications are clear. The East Coast-West Coast feud may have involved more than just lyrical battles and public feuds. It may have led to violence with fatal consequences. To understand the gravity of Knight's claims, it's important to revisit the rivalry that defined 1990s hip-hop. On the West Coast, Death Row Records was the dominant label, spearheaded by Suge Knight. Tupac Shakur was its most prominent star, known for his fiery lyrics, raw emotion, and unyielding presence. On the East Coast, Bad Boy Records, led by Sean Diddy Combs, was rapidly growing into a powerhouse. Artists like the Notorious B.I.G. embodied East Coast rap's gritty lyrical style. These two scenes, once thriving independently, became bitter adversaries. What started as competitive music business escalated into public insults, diss tracks, and personal attacks. The media often fanned these flames, portraying the rivalry as a dangerous feud with cultural and social implications. Unfortunately, this conflict was more than just music. It was a collision of pride, territory, and power. According to sources close to the court proceedings, Knight detailed interactions and communications suggesting that Diddy, as the head of Bad Boy Records, may have been aware or even complicit in the plot to eliminate Tupac. Knight's words, described by witnesses as chilling and direct, hinted that the orchestration was deliberate, aimed at weakening Death Row Records' influence and ending Tupac's rising dominance. While Knight did not provide specific names of shooters or direct orders, the suggestion that Diddy had a role in the lead-up to the murder is a bombshell that challenges long-held narratives. Tupac's murder has baffled law enforcement and fans alike. Despite extensive investigations, no arrests have been made in the case. Various theories have surfaced over the years, implicating gangs, rival labels, and even corrupt police officials. Many believe the rivalry between Tupac and the Notorious B.I.G. was at the heart of the conflict. Notorious B.I.G. himself was murdered 6 months later in a similar unsolved shooting, adding layers of tragedy and mystery. Knight's new allegations introduce fresh fuel to a fire long thought cold. The possibility that Diddy, one of the most powerful men in music, was involved demands scrutiny. Since the news broke, social media has erupted with divided opinions. Some fans staunchly defend Diddy, citing his denial and respected career. Others demand a full investigation, urging authorities to look deeper into the allegations. Artists who grew up idolizing Tupac express pain and confusion. Many acknowledge the rivalry but hoped violence would never escalate to such a tragic level. Music journalists and historians note that Knight's revelations could reshape how the 1990s hip-hop era is remembered. The East Coast-West Coast feud was not just a backdrop. It may have been a dangerous battlefield. While Knight's statements are serious, legal experts remind us that allegations made in court need corroborating evidence. Diddy has repeatedly denied any involvement in Tupac's murder and maintains his innocence. If new investigations arise from Knight's testimony, they may uncover more facts or lead to legal proceedings. However, proving involvement in such a cold case, over 25 years later, presents enormous challenges. Law enforcement agencies have stated they are reviewing all credible leads and evidence to bring justice to Tupac's family and fans. As the courtroom drama unfolds, Suge Knight's allegations against Sean Diddy Combs continue to send tremors through the hip-hop world. In this second part, we will explore the broader implications of these claims, Diddy's response, and how this revelation could reshape the narrative surrounding Tupac Shakur's tragic death. Since Suge Knight's courtroom statements came to light, Sean Combs has been swift to respond. Through his legal team and public statements, Diddy categorically denies any involvement in Tupac's murder. He described the allegations as baseless and damaging, emphasizing his commitment to peace and unity in the music industry. Diddy's camp insists that these claims are attempts to deflect blame and rewrite history. Despite his denials, the weight of Suge Knight's accusations cannot be ignored, especially considering Knight's proximity to the events of 1996. The 1990s hip-hop scene was marked by ambition, creativity, and rivalry. The East Coast-West Coast feud was a defining feature that shaped music, culture, and business. This rivalry was not just about music, but also about influence, respect, and territorial dominance. Death Row Records, under Suge Knight, and Bad Boy Records, led by Diddy, were at the center of this storm. Artists often found themselves caught in the crossfire of this feud, which escalated beyond lyrical battles to real-world consequences. Suge Knight is a controversial figure. Known for his intimidating presence and legal troubles, many question his motives and credibility. However, Knight was with Tupac during the shooting, sustaining injuries himself. His first-hand experience gives his allegations a certain gravity. Legal analysts point out that despite Knight's troubled history, his statements in court carry weight as sworn testimony, which could potentially trigger further investigations. Tupac Shakur remains one of the most beloved and influential figures in music history. His poetry, activism, and charisma continue to inspire generations. The unresolved nature of his murder has left a lasting shadow over his legacy. Knight's revelations, if proven, may finally expose truths long hidden. Fans hope that this could lead to closure, honoring Tupac's memory with justice. Reinvestigating a decades-old case presents significant hurdles. Evidence may have deteriorated, witnesses may be unavailable, and political or social pressures could complicate proceedings. Still, Knight's testimony might open new leads or revive old ones, prompting law enforcement to dig deeper. The public and media will closely watch any developments, demanding transparency and accountability. The allegations spark reflection within the hip-hop community about the culture of rivalry and violence that characterized an era. Artists and industry leaders have called for lessons to be learned, emphasizing peace, respect, and unity moving forward. Tupac's death and its aftermath symbolize the consequences of unchecked conflict in music and society. Should evidence support Knight's allegations, legal consequences for any implicated individuals could follow. Diddy, as a high-profile figure, would face intense legal scrutiny. This could impact his career and reputation, though proving involvement after many years is complex. Lawsuits, renewed investigations, and potential trials may emerge, reigniting public and media attention. Suge Knight's courtroom exposure of Sean Diddy Combs' alleged role in Tupac Shakur's murder has opened a new chapter in a decades-old saga. While the full truth remains to be uncovered, this revelation demands attention, investigation, and reflection. The legacy of Tupac and the history of hip-hop depend on uncovering facts, acknowledging past wrongs, and moving toward healing. As the world watches, the hope is for justice, truth, and ultimately peace.